There are wars fought in silence, conflicts waged not with armies, but with decisions, signatures, and distance. For King Charles III, the quietest of wars may also be his most defining. It is not against a rival state or a rebellious faction, but against a part of his own bloodline, the House of York. In a reign marked by refinement and restraint, Charles is said to be enforcing a new kind of royal order, a monarchy purged of scandal, trimmed of excess, and polished for survival. Yet beneath that composure lies ruthlessness. This is the story of a king's quiet war on the Yorks and the cost of cleansing the crown. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. Every monarch inherits both legacy and liability. When Charles ascended the throne in 2022, he inherited more than the crown jewels and ancient oaths. He inherited a family still bearing the fractures of scandal, wounds inflicted by his brother, Prince Andrew, and the fallout that had quietly eroded public trust in the monarchy's moral authority. The late Queen had managed to maintain her equilibrium amid the chaos, shielding the institution with her grace and her silence. But Charles, who came to power in an age of unforgiving transparency, could not afford the same luxury. His reign, from the beginning, demanded cleansing. And so began the quiet reordering of the royal household, not with fanfare, but with omission. The Yorks, once a visible and spirited branch of the family, found themselves slowly edged out of the frame. It began with subtle signals, invitations withheld, appearances minimized, responsibilities reassigned. Prince Andrew, stripped of his titles and public duties, became a ghost within the royal machine, present but untouchable. His daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, continued to represent grace and modernity, but even they were gently repositioned to the margins of royal visibility. What was once a family of broad inclusion was narrowing its circle. King Charles's strategy was neither vindictive nor impulsive. It was deliberate, a long-awaited correction to decades of blurred boundaries between public duty and private indulgence. The Yorks had long embodied both the charm and chaos of modern royalty. Andrew's early years as a war hero and public favorite had given way to decades of questionable friendships and failed judgment. Sarah Ferguson, though charismatic and resilient, also carried her own share of controversy. The couple's daughters, though blameless, carried the burden of association. Charles understood that the monarchy's survival depends not on sentiment, but on perception. And perception could no longer tolerate ambiguity. Behind palace walls, insiders described the king's approach as surgical. Where his mother often sought reconciliation, Charles seeks resolution. His model is smaller, leaner, and uncompromising. He envisions a monarchy of purpose, one defined by duty, not lineage. It is a vision rooted in pragmatism, but it comes at a cost. The Yorks, once considered the family's heart, have become its cautionary tale. Their exile is not public, but it is palpable. Royal observers note the difference in tone between the Queen's indulgent affection and the King's quiet detachment. To Elizabeth, family was continuity. To Charles, it is liability if left unchecked. The late Queen's affection for Andrew had allowed him to linger within royal walls long after public opinion turned. Charles's ascension marked the end of that era. He made it clear, not through words but through absence, that rehabilitation would not come. When Andrew's removal from official duties was confirmed, the statement was brief, almost cold, but the message was unmistakable. the monarchy had drawn its line. It was not only about Andrew's personal downfall, it was about what his continued presence represented: entitlement without service, privilege without accountability. In the king's eyes, the monarchy must no longer be seen as a family of beneficiaries, but as a disciplined institution of duty. That means no room for passengers, not even those of royal birth. His son, Prince William, shares this conviction, and together they form a rare united front in royal politics. Both men understand that the monarchy's greatest threat is not republicanism, but irrelevance born of scandal. The quiet war, however, is not fought through confrontation. It is waged through reorganization. The Yorks have found their homes, physical and symbolic, under reassessment. Royal Lodge, once the grand residence of Prince Andrew and the Duchess of York, has become a focal point in this subtle struggle. Once a gift of status, it now stands as a reminder of diminishing privilege. Reports of financial pressures, repair demands, and relocation offers form part of the palace's pressure campaign. There is no public decree, no humiliation, only the slow, steady erosion of comfort. In royal terms, that is how exile begins.
Even Sarah Ferguson, ever the survivor, seems to have recognized the shift. Her long, complex relationship with Andrew, marked by friendship, cohabitation, and enduring loyalty, appears to have reached its natural end. She has reinvented herself once again, stepping carefully into public favor through charity work and openness, maintaining proximity to the royal brand while staying clear of its politics. She remains the Houdini of the royals, as one commentator called her, but even she must now navigate without the safety of royal endorsement. The king's circle has no room for nostalgia. In public, Charles remains composed, smiling at engagements, speaking of unity, projecting calm. But within his reign lies a current of transformation. He knows the monarchy cannot modernize if it remains sentimental. His actions toward the Yorks, restrained but decisive, reflect a monarch finally willing to make the hard choices his predecessors avoided. The old order, defined by sprawling families and generous allowances, is fading. In its place stands a structure more transparent, more professional, and far less forgiving. Still, the human cost of this transformation cannot be ignored. For Beatrice and Eugenie, their father's exile has placed them in an impossible position. Loyal daughters, but public figures in their own right, they have had to navigate affection and distance simultaneously. They continue to appear at royal weddings, funerals, and major state events, but their roles remain undefined. They exist in a royal limbo, included enough to be recognized, excluded enough to be forgotten. And yet, their quiet grace may be the very thing that saves them. They represent what the monarchy wishes to be seen as: poised, dignified, apolitical. But even their future depends on how far the king's reform will reach. Charles' distaste for excess runs deep. As Prince of Wales, he long advocated for efficiency, environmentalism, and sustainability, ideas he now applies to the monarchy itself. The institution, he believes, must reflect the values of the modern world or risk alienation. That means a smaller royal workforce, fewer titles, and more accountability. But the pursuit of purity comes with paradox. The crown that seeks moral clarity must also reckon with its own contradictions. A family that must love, yet judge, protect, yet exclude. Within the palace, the tension between public image and private loyalty is ever present. The king's decisions may cleanse the monarchy's reputation, but they also expose its fragility. Each act of distancing chips away at the human bonds that once held it together. The Yorks' removal from royal favor may restore credibility, but it also underscores a truth the crown prefers to hide: that redemption within the royal family is not impossible, but inconvenient. Charles's handling of his brother's downfall also serves as a message to others. The age of unchecked privilege is over. The royal name is no longer a shield. It is a responsibility. Those who tarnish it, intentionally or otherwise, risk erasure from its story. It is a harsh but necessary message for a monarch determined to secure his legacy. The crown, for Charles, must be lighter, cleaner, and above all, believable. And yet, for all his decisiveness, the king's actions reveal something deeply human, the quiet sorrow of a man forced to choose between family and duty. In public, he maintains composure. In private, he must surely feel the weight of brotherhood lost. The Yorks, after all, are not distant cousins, but close kin. The decision to sever their place within the royal structure is not without pain. But monarchy has always demanded sacrifice, and for Charles, that sacrifice is personal. The palace will, of course, never frame it as war. Official statements will speak of respect, transition, and evolution. But those who watch closely can see the outline of strategy beneath the politeness. The royal family is being redefined, one exclusion at a time. It is no longer a web of relatives, but a core team of representatives. Those without defined roles, or those whose reputations threaten the whole, are being quietly retired. The Yorks are simply the most visible casualties of this new monarchy. Still, the question remains, how far will the king's cleansing go? When Prince William ascends the throne, his approach may prove even more uncompromising. He has inherited his father's vision, but sharpened it with his mother's understanding of media and optics. His monarchy will likely be even smaller, more image-driven, more corporate. In that future, the Yorks' distance today may become permanent exile tomorrow. History may look back on this period as a turning point, the moment when the monarchy chose survival over sentiment. The Yorks' quiet disappearance from royal life marks more than the end of a family branch. It marks the end of an era when royal birth guaranteed belonging. Under Charles, belonging must be earned, not inherited. And yet, in their absence, the Yorks remind us of the human heart behind the crown, flawed, loyal, and enduring. Their story is both warning and reflection, that even within the most ancient of institutions, family remains both its strength and its greatest vulnerability. Perhaps this is the paradox of Charles's reign. To preserve the monarchy, he must make it smaller. To keep it respected, he must make it colder. To make it modern, he must make it less human. His quiet war on the Yorks may achieve its purpose, but at a cost that cannot be measured in titles or palaces, only in distance. And when history writes the story of King Charles III, it will remember not only his reforms, but the silences that defined them, the family members who faded from view so that the institution could shine. For in monarchy, survival is never without sacrifice, and every crown, no matter how steady, casts its shadow. If you've made it this far, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Has King Charles gone too far in distancing the Yorks, or is this the price of restoring royal integrity? Let us know in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this exploration into the crown's most quiet and ruthless transformation, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Crownverse, where royal history lives on.